They say you never really know someone until the day they decide they're done pretending. For me, that day came wrapped in navy blue stationery and gold script. You are cordially invited to the surprise 34th birthday of Cassandra May Roth. Location, the Crimson Fox Rooftop Lounge. Time, 7 p.m. Dress code, smart but effortless, just like her. Cassandra Roth, Cassie to me, or used to be. My wife, or used to be, depending on how you define marriage after the kind of year we'd had. Now, we were still technically married, living in the same house, eating the same food, splitting the Wi-Fi. But hearts? Not so much. Hers was clearly on vacation in someone else's inbox. What made this invitation sting wasn't that I wasn't supposed to know about the party. It was that she accidentally sent it to me. I guess when you're planning a party with your secret boyfriend, your husband's email can look awfully similar to your new flames. Classic copy-paste betrayal. I RSVP'd attending. Didn't tell her, of course. I figured surprises were the theme. Now, let me rewind just a little. Cassie wasn't always this version of herself. When I met her, she was charming. Sharp. Too sharp. Really, like kissing a scalpel. But I loved it. I loved her. At least the part of her that wasn't running reconnaissance missions behind my back. It started small. The longer work hours. The mysterious conference in Phoenix, where her Instagram stories forgot to turn off. Then there were the laughs. Not mine, hers. At 2 a.m., glowing in the light of her phone, some private joke that apparently didn't require my punchline. So I started doing what every betrayed man swears he won't. I watched. I logged. I paid attention. And I learned two things. My wife was cheating on me. She was terrible at it. She had all the flair of a Netflix villain. Dramatic entrances, whispered phone calls, and the subtlety of a marching band. I found receipts for restaurants we'd never been to. Lingerie tags for pieces I'd never seen. A playlist titled Gym Motivation that started with Marvin Gaye and ended with The Weeknd. Unless she was lifting dumbbells to earned it, something wasn't adding up. So I started planning. Not revenge. Not yet. First, reconnaissance. I needed the full story before I could write the ending. And believe me, I intended to write the ending. That brings us to the rooftop party. On the night of her surprise soiree, I showed up in a charcoal suit with a clean shave and no intention of blending in. The Crimson Fox was packed with her friends, the curated cast of brunch pals, yoga enablers, and the occasional coworker she swore was just annoying. They screamed when she walked in. Balloons floated, champagne flowed. She didn't notice me at first, too busy kissing cheeks and laughing that rehearsed laugh of hers. Then, she saw me. Her smile froze like a paused video. 1 second. 2. Then she recovered. Wow, she said, walking over slowly. You got the invite. I nodded. Must have been fate. Or your lack of attention to detail. She blinked. Did you come alone? I leaned in and whispered, did you? Her jaw clenched. I could tell she wanted to argue, deny, perform. But we were surrounded by people. So she smiled again and said, you look good, Nathan. Thanks, I replied. I always dress sharp for eulogies. She laughed, too loud, hoping no one had heard. You're being dramatic. No, I said, sipping champagne. Just getting started. They say a lie travels halfway around the world before the truth gets its shoes on. In Cassie's case, the lie had already bought first-class tickets and started redecorating the hotel suite. But I wasn't interested in chasing it. I was building a cage around it instead. Let me tell you about the night I found the hard proof. Because suspicion is one thing, confirmation? That's a whole new world. Cassie said she was staying late at work again. Big pitch. High pressure. Needed her full focus. So naturally, I brought her lunch. Not to her office, of course. To the Hyatt 2 blocks away. The front desk clerk, God bless him, gave me that polite but suspicious look, like he thought I was about to propose or commit a felony. Can I help you, sir? Yes, I said, holding up the bag. I have a lunch delivery for a guest. Cassandra Roth, room 1524. He tapped a few keys. She's, listed as Cassandra Lane. Lane. Her maiden name. Cute. I guess she liked pretending she wasn't married, even when checking in under her own face. I went back to my car, parked a block away, and waited. I didn't knock. Didn't confront. That's what she was hoping for, a dramatic soap opera moment she could twist later. No, I waited until she came home. She walked in around 8:30 p.m., hair freshly tousled, smile already loaded. Pitch went amazing, she said, kissing my cheek like nothing inside her was rotting. I bet it did, I said, flipping through a magazine. Client impressed? Very. Her voice almost purred. I think we sealed the deal. Room 1524 impressed too, huh? Silence. Absolute, vacuum-sealed silence. Her purse slid from her shoulder like it was trying to get away from her. What? She asked, but her voice cracked on the W. I swung by to bring you lunch. You know me, Mr. Thoughtful. She stared, blinked. The moment stretched like bad Wi-Fi. I don't know what you're talking about, she finally said, her tone shifting to offended actress mode. Oh, don't worry, I said, standing now. You will. I reached into the drawer and pulled out the little flash drive I kept in a box labeled spare phone chargers. Not a lie. It had those too. She stared at it. What is that? Security footage from the Hyatt. Lobby cam. Hallway. Elevator. Even a brief snapshot of room 1524's door, where you and your tall, back-patting, watch-wearing coworker stood very close for a very long time. She blanched. You followed me. I anticipated you, I said calmly. Big difference. The thing is, I hadn't planned to use the footage right away. I was just building the case. But the lie had kept rolling, and it needed to hit a wall. What do you want from me? She snapped. And there it was. The real Cassie, stepping out of the pretty packaging. No tears. No apologies. Just cold defiance. She wasn't sorry. She was cornered. I smiled. I want you to keep doing exactly what you're doing, I said. Lie to me. Pretend. Laugh with your mouth full of secrets. Why? She asked, confused. Because the more you do, the more I gather. And I'm collecting something better than closure, Cassie. She folded her arms. And what's that? I leaned in, my voice low. Leverage. She didn't respond. Just turned, grabbed her wine glass, and walked off like she hadn't just heard the rumble of the ground beneath her feet cracking wide open. But I had heard it. I'd felt it. This was no longer a marriage. It was a chess game, and she didn't realize yet. She was already in check. Cassie had one fatal flaw. No, not the infidelity. That's more of a feature in her personality set. Her real weakness? She underestimated me. See, while she was busy playing amateur spy with her burner texts and weekend hotel codes, I was wiring up the whole theater. And no, not literally. I didn't install bugs and light fixtures or hide cameras and teddy bears. That's what crazy husbands do. I just gave her a new phone. Happy Tuesday, I said one morning, placing a sleek new iPhone in a white box across her side of the table, between the oat milk and the unspoken tension. She blinked. What's this? New phone, I said, sipping my coffee. Yours has been glitching. Oh, she said slowly, eyes narrowing. You didn't need to do that. I know, I replied. But you know me, thoughtful. She picked it up, hesitant. It's the same model as mine. I know. That was the point. She wouldn't notice the tracking app one had tucked away deep inside the settings, cleverly hidden under a fake meditation app called MindNest. The moment she logged into her iCloud, I had everything. Contacts, messages, locations, call logs. And sure enough, she walked straight into it like a child skipping through a minefield. That's when I met Miles. According to the texts, he was charming, worldly, a fire sign, with a Peloton addiction and an MBA from somewhere no one cares about. He sent long voice notes. She sent photos of her dinner and passive-aggressive compliments about my cooking. He made lentils again. He calls it comfort food. I call it beige sadness. That one made me laugh. Not because it was clever, because she had eaten every last bite. So I listened. Not all the time. Just enough to confirm what I already knew. She was trying to build a soft exit. A gentle fade from husband to ghost, while she leapfrogged straight into her next romance without the mess of guilt or confrontation. But I wasn't going to give her a clean exit. I was going to give her something better. A spotlight. She started planning a trip with Miles. Told me it was a brand leadership retreat in Denver. She even left a fake itinerary on the kitchen table. I whistled when I read it. Breakout session, expanding your legacy. 3:45 to 4:15 p.m. What a load of garbage. Meanwhile, her messages to Miles read. Book the suite with the hot tub. Bring that blue shirt I like. I'll bring the wine and no husband. Real subtle, Cass. I didn't confront her. I helped her pack. Don't forget a scarf, I said, tucking one into her bag. Denver gets cold. She kissed my cheek. You're so sweet. I try. She left on Friday morning. By Friday night, I had the hotel's booking record, pulled through a friend who still owed me a favor from my cybersecurity days. Yeah, forgot to mention, before I was a marketing consultant, I built firewalls for fun. Cass never did care much about my nerdy past. Suite 1203. Two nights. Cassandra Roth and Miles Pritchard. By Saturday morning, I was sipping coffee at a cafe across the street from the hotel. Just a man enjoying his weekend in Denver. And at 10:17 a.m., like clockwork, I got the notification. Device: Cassandra's iPhone, connected to hotel Wi-Fi. Bingo. I smiled, sipped my coffee, and opened my Nest. Her texts were lighting up like a pinball machine. Last night was unreal. You make me feel seen. I wish I met you before him. She typed those words as she lay in the bed I had paid for, using the phone I had given her, on the plan I still covered. There's a word for that kind of betrayal, but I prefer the math. Her lies plus my patience equals perfect leverage. And I wasn't done yet. Because what Cassie didn't know is that I'd already invited Miles to dinner. Miles Pritchard walked into my life wearing a navy blazer and the overconfidence of a man who'd never been told no in his life. Perfect teeth, perfect hair, perfect credit score, I'm sure. The kind of guy who talks with his hands and uses phrases like, "let's circle back," in casual conversation. He had no idea he was walking into a trap. I invited him under the pretense of a business meeting, branding strategy over dinner. Told him I was looking for someone to help consult on a nonprofit initiative I was launching. Made it sound glossy, noble, and vague enough that it could pass for a real venture. People like Miles fall for that kind of bait, especially when it strokes the ego. I appreciate you making the time, I said, shaking his hand firmly at the restaurant entrance. A quiet little spot I knew well, dim lighting, great acoustics, and private booths. The kind of place where secrets felt safe. Absolutely, he said with a winning smile. Your email really caught my attention. Social impact's something I've been meaning to get into. Of course it was. He had a voice like a podcast host and skin like he moisturized between thoughts. Cassie had a type, apparently. I ordered the wine, something red, overpriced, and appropriately dramatic. He leaned back in the booth, all relaxed confidence, and said, "So tell me more about this. What was it called again?" Mind Legacy. That was the name I'd made up on the spot. Sounded like something a motivational speaker would shout into a TED Talk crowd. Yeah, I said, swirling my glass. It's still early, but I'm assembling a team. Passionate people. Disruptors. Truth seekers. He nodded like I'd just quoted Steve Jobs. I love that. That's exactly what I'm about. I smiled. Is that what Cassandra's about too? Miles paused mid-sip. Cassandra? I watched him closely. The pause was just long enough to confirm everything I needed. Yeah, I said casually. Cassie. You're a friend from Denver. His jaw tightened. But only for a second. I'm sorry, how do you know Cassandra? I leaned forward, set my glass down slowly, and locked eyes with him. I'm her husband. There it was. The moment. His eyes widened just slightly, like he was recalculating everything about the past 5 minutes. The suit couldn't hide that flinch. Couldn't cover the fact that his face went pale around the edges. I didn't know, he started. She said you were just co-workers. Maybe friends. Or that she was already separated. Am I getting warm? He opened his mouth, then shut it again. Smart move. Relax, I said, waving it off. I'm not here to yell. I'm not here to punch you. That part's over. He swallowed hard. Then why am I here? I grinned. Because you're going to help me finish what she started. He blinked. What do you mean? You're going to keep seeing her. Keep playing the part. Say all the things she wants to hear. Except this time, I'll be watching. And in return, I don't burn you to the ground. Miles laughed, a dry, nervous thing. You're blackmailing me? No, I said. I'm recruiting you. Now, I know what you're thinking. This is where the plan goes off the rails. But here's the thing about guys like Miles. They talk a big game, but deep down, they're terrified of scandal. Terrified of ruining their image. And more than anything else, they hate being manipulated by someone smarter than them. He leaned back in his seat, staring at me like I was a crossword puzzle he couldn't solve. Why not just confront her? He asked finally. I sipped my wine. Because that's what she wants. The big, teary fight. The dramatic climax where she gets to cry and spin it into "we grew apart." And he never listened and walk away without consequence. I leaned forward, voice calm. I want her to rot in the slow realization that I knew everything. That I let her dig her own grave while I laid out the velvet rope. I want her to feel like she's winning, all the way to the edge of the cliff. He stared. I could see the calculation in his eyes. This wasn't what he signed up for. He thought he was the main character. Turns out, he was just in my story. After a long pause, he said, "And if I say no?" I shrugged. "Then I release everything. Screenshots, hotel records, audio from her lovely little voice notes. I'll forward them to her boss, her mother, our friends, the dog groomer. Hell, I'll CC her old college professor for good measure." He swallowed. Hard. "Or," I continued, "you do what you've been doing. Whisper sweet nothings. Keep her comfortable. And when I say so, you deliver the final blow." He looked down at his glass like it might hold the answer. Then he looked up, defeated. "What do you want me to say?" I smiled. "You'll know when the time comes." The server dropped the check. I paid it without looking. Miles stood slowly, his face a study in discomfort. "Tell her," I added casually, "that you're falling for her. Make it real. She loves that." As he turned to go, I said one more thing. "Oh, and Miles." He looked back. "Wear the blue shirt again. She really likes it." His face darkened. He walked out without a word. I sat there for a few more minutes, enjoying the last of the wine. It was quiet, peaceful, the kind of quiet you get right before a storm. Cassie had no idea what was coming. She thought the knife was in my back. She just hadn't realized. I was the one holding the handle. The thing about a perfect lie is that it doesn't unravel all at once. It frays, thread by thread, until the whole thing caves in like wet cardboard. Cassie's lie? It was starting to smell like mold. 2 weeks after my little dinner with Miles, the game was in motion. He did exactly what I asked. Kept texting, kept fawning, kept playing Romeo in designer loafers. Meanwhile, Cassie? She was glowing. Glowing like someone who thought she'd pulled off the heist of the century and had already booked her retirement cruise. She started humming around the house again. That was the first sign. Cassie only hummed when she was content or when she was trying to hide something. Either way, she was always off-key. "You've been in a good mood lately," I said one night, stirring the pot on the stove like nothing was brewing beneath the surface but soup. She smirked. "Work's been rewarding." I stirred slower. "Anything to do with that leadership retreat in Denver?" She paused, only for a moment. Then a shrug. "Maybe. It's nice to be around people who get me." Oh, people who get me. That vague, self-serving language cheaters use to justify moral bankruptcy. It sounds like personal growth, but really it's just a euphemism for "I found someone new to lie to." I nodded and tasted the broth. Needed more salt. That night, I watched her from across the dinner table. She talked about her day, her coworkers, a new project she was so excited about. I smiled. I nodded. I took a mental note every time she used a new buzzword to distance herself from me. Then she said it. "I think we need to talk." Bingo. I put my spoon down gently, like we were in a courtroom. "About what?" She folded her hands like a hostage negotiator trying to look calm. "About us. I've been doing some thinking. Soul searching." Of course she had. Probably between room service and stolen kisses. "I don't think I'm happy anymore," she said. I let that hang in the air. I wanted her to stew in it. Feel like she was being brave. Like she was finally telling the truth, when really, she was just rehearsing a monologue. "Okay," I said slowly. "Go on. I think we've grown apart. We want different things. You're very comfortable." "Comfortable," I repeated. She nodded, a bit too eagerly. "You like routine. I want more. More passion. More ambition. More. More Miles." I asked, looking directly at her. And there it was. The flinch. A half-second twitch of her lip. Her fork paused in midair. "Who?" I leaned back in my chair, arms crossed. "You know, the guy from the leadership retreat. The one who sends you 2 a.m. voice notes and wears that blue shirt you love." She went pale. The blood drained from her face like someone had pulled the plug. "Nathan, don't lie," I said quietly but firmly. "You're not good at it." Her hands trembled as she set her fork down. "How long have you known?" "Long enough to play along." Her eyes darted around the room like she was trying to find an escape hatch. "This isn't what it looks like." "No." I tilted my head. "Because it looks like you've been cheating on me for 3 months and building an exit plan behind my back while smiling in my face like we were still planning a trip to Napa." Her voice cracked. "I didn't mean for it to happen. I didn't plan this." "Cassie," I said, calm as a surgeon, "you left your search history logged in. You didn't just plan it. You researched getaway outfits, spa packages, and articles like how to tell your husband you're leaving without a fight. You planned it like a wedding. She covered her mouth, like that would stop the truth from echoing through the room. I was going to tell you, but you didn't. You wanted me to guess. You wanted to make me the villain so you could play the enlightened victim. I stood slowly, walked around the table, and leaned down so my voice was just above a whisper. I know about Miles. I know about the hotel. I know you used your maiden name on the reservation. And I know you told him you wished you'd met him sooner. She looked like she was going to cry, but it wasn't guilt. It was exposure. Cassie wasn't sorry for what she did. She was sorry I found out. I didn't want to hurt you, she said finally. You didn't want to hurt yourself. I stepped back. Big difference. She sat there in silence for a long moment, eyes brimming but never spilling. I watched her, and I saw the exact moment she realized she'd lost control of the narrative. I thought maybe we could handle this like adults, she said. We are, I replied. You lied. I listened. You cheated. I learned. That's called emotional maturity. She laughed once, bitter. So what now? You divorce me. I smiled. Eventually. But not before I finished the story. She blinked. What story? The one where the villain thinks she's the victim, right up until the lights come on. That night, she slept in the guest room. She still thought she was driving this. Still thought the worst thing that could happen was a quiet, mutual separation with no hard feelings. She had no idea that I wasn't walking away broken. I was walking away loaded, with receipts, records, witnesses, and a plan. Because Cassie hadn't just broken the marriage. She'd handed me every tool I needed. And I was going to use them all. A funny thing happens when you stop caring about salvaging something. You start seeing clearly. No rose-tinted glasses. No emotional fog. Just the facts, plain and sharp as broken glass. Cassie had confessed, if you could even call it that. More like she got caught mid-swan dive and tried to pass it off as yoga. She was still in the house, still humming her little guilty tunes, still thinking a civil divorce was the final chapter. And that's exactly what I wanted her to think. The truth? We weren't even halfway through the book. So I started laying bricks. Quiet ones. Subtle ones. I wasn't out for public revenge, not yet. I was out for precision. Think scalpel, not chainsaw. First up, the finances. Cassie had no idea I'd been quietly rerouting things for weeks. The day I saw her flirting with Miles on FaceTime, with her back to our living room window, no less, I opened a new account in my name. Salary? Redirected. Savings? Transferred. The joint credit cards? Set to auto-close in 30 days. She still had access, for now. But that door would slam shut the moment I was ready. Until then, I let her think we were still a team. After all, we're going through a lot right now. Her words. Next, I made a few calls. Nothing too flashy. Just some casual chats with a real estate agent, a lawyer, and a guy named Ben who owed me a favor since I helped him get his startup off the ground back in 2016. Ben specialized in digital forensics. What are you looking for? He asked when we met over lunch. Every message, I said. Every deleted photo. Every draft email she didn't send but typed anyway. I want it all. He nodded. Give me the device. So I gave him the MindNest phone. She'd been using it for everything. Miles mostly, but also venting about me. Texts that read like diary entries to her new flame. He's so emotionally unavailable. He has no idea what I'm planning. I'm 10 steps ahead. That one made me laugh. Out loud. On the freeway. Ben got me what I needed, more than I expected, actually. Screenshots, location pings, audio files. Even one from their Denver suite, where she told Miles, it's just a matter of time. Once I get what I need, I'm gone. What she needed, apparently, was my signature on the house refinance. She'd been dropping hints about remodeling the bathroom for weeks. I nodded, smiled, said things like, maybe after the holidays. But here's where the setup went from personal to poetic. I called up her company's HR department, told them I was conducting a background check on a former coworker and needed to verify some employment dates. Totally routine, I said. Sure, they said. She's still listed as Cassandra Roth. Employed since 2019. Manager of brand strategy. I thanked them, hung up, and made a note. She was using her married name for professional clout. Convenient, since her LinkedIn headline boasted partnered success-driven leader with over a decade of stable home life experience. That image was important to her. It helped close deals, build trust. So naturally, I planned to shatter it. But first, I needed one more piece. A recording. Not one I'd take. One Miles would. He didn't know it yet, but he was about to become my final chess piece. I texted him from a burner account I'd made weeks earlier. Sent him a message that read, "Tonight's the night. Make her talk. Get her to say it. I'll handle the rest." He replied, "She's coming over. I'll set it up." I didn't reply. I just smiled and folded the burner phone shut like I was closing a coffin lid. Later that evening, Cassie walked through the door with a bag of groceries and that breezy, guilt-laced attitude she wore like perfume. "Got your favorite wine," she said, holding up a bottle of Malbec like a peace offering. "Thanks," I said, taking it and setting it on the counter. "We should talk soon about the refinance paperwork." Her eyes lit up, just a flicker. "Yes, that'd be great. I was thinking maybe we start with the upstairs bath and then the kitchen." I cut her off gently. "Let's just take it one step at a time." She nodded, too eagerly. I could see the gears turning behind her smile. She thought I was caving, that the passive husband had reemerged, the one who didn't ask too many questions. Perfect. She made pasta. She even lit candles. She was trying to conjure up the ghost of a marriage she'd already burned down. I played along, ate dinner, made small talk, and when she leaned in after dessert and said, "Maybe we could take a weekend away, just us," I just smiled. "That sounds nice." At that exact moment, Miles was in his apartment, recording a conversation on speakerphone. Cassie didn't know that yet. She also didn't know I'd be sending that recording to her employer, her mother, and Miles himself, at just the right time. The best part? She was the one who wrote the script. Once I get the house signed over, I'm out. I'm not leaving with nothing after 5 years of pretending. He still thinks I'm confused, that I need time. Men always think it's about emotions. It's not. It's about winning. That was the moment I knew I wasn't just going to walk away from this. I was going to leave a blueprint. Because betrayal isn't always about heartbreak. Sometimes it's about clarity. Cold, calculated clarity. And when you stop reacting emotionally, you start creating consequences. So I set the stage. Tomorrow, I'd call the lawyer and initiate divorce proceedings. But not just that. I'd file a breach of marital fiduciary duty claim. Because trying to refinance property behind your spouse's back? That's financial misconduct in our state. Serious business. I'd also submit a formal report to her employer's ethics board with documentation. Her text logs, her voice recordings, her little scheme to use her marriage as leverage while already planning her exit. The house. She wouldn't get a penny of it. And as for Miles, well, let's just say nothing ruins a fling faster than realizing you were the bait. I timed it all down to the hour. But for now, I poured a second glass of wine, sat across from her, and let her believe she still had the upper hand. The fall's always more satisfying when they think they're still flying. The call came at 9:17 a.m. Cassie was in the shower. I was in the kitchen, watching the kettle boil and listening to her Spotify Calm Vibes playlist echo through the house like a eulogy for sincerity. I answered on the second ring. "Mr. Roth," the voice said. Polite, clipped. "This is Diane from Rivermark Legal." I knew exactly who she was. I'd emailed her the night before with all the files neatly attached. Audio, messages, the whole messy scrapbook. "We've reviewed your documentation. We're prepared to begin proceedings. Based on what you've shared, this will not be a friendly split." "Wasn't expecting it to be," I replied. "We'll have the papers by tomorrow. And, for what it's worth, sir, this was one of the more impressive cases we've ever seen." "Appreciate that." Click. The shower stopped. I poured my coffee, calm as a monk, while my soon-to-be ex dried herself off in the next room, humming a song about self-love. Fitting. At 9:45, her phone buzzed. Work email. I watched her face as she read it. Towel wrapped around her, wet hair clinging to her collarbone. She blinked. Once. Twice. Then she read it again. She didn't scream. Not yet. Cassie wasn't a screamer. But she was unraveling. "Nathan," she called out. I took a slow sip of coffee. "Yeah." She stepped into the doorway in a robe that suddenly looked less like silk and more like armor made of tissue paper. "Did you send something to my job?" I raised my eyebrows. "You'd have to be more specific." She stared. "Don't play dumb. They're launching an investigation." "Into what?" "My ethics. My conduct. They have," her voice cracked. "They have everything." "Oh," I said, setting my mug down. "Then yeah, I sent that." The silence between us turned arctic. "Why would you do that?" she whispered. I walked past her, calm, collected. You don't get to use my name, my stability, my money, and then walk away clean. Actions have consequences, Cass. She grabbed my arm. You're destroying my life. No, I said, yanking free. You did that. And I walked out the door. She left 3 days later. No fight. No begging. Just the slow exit of a woman who finally realized the smoke had cleared, and she'd been standing in the fire the whole time. I didn't say a word. Helped her carry one box. Watched her drive away in a leased BMW I'd co-signed, but already revoked. A little poetic touch. She went to stay with Miles. It lasted 6 days. I know because he called me. I'm not proud of it, he started. Good. That makes 2 of us. She's different now, he said, voice hollow. Like she's constantly on edge. She keeps accusing me of siding with you. Smart girl. You are. She said she wants to start over, but I'm not sure what that even means anymore. I think she expected this to be some kind of movie ending. I laughed. Cassie's great at starting stories. Not so great at finishing them. He hesitated. You planned this whole thing, didn't you? Every frame. You're cold, man. No, I said. I'm honest. Try it sometime. He hung up. Cassie tried to reach out 2 days later. Not to apologize. That would require humility. She just wanted to talk. To explain. To see if there was still something worth saving. I blocked the number. Because here's the truth no one likes to admit. Closure is a luxury people like Cassie don't deserve. 2 months passed. She lost her job, quietly, but definitively. HR sent her a tidy little email with a non-disclosure agreement attached. Something about protecting company reputation. She tried to freelance. But that didn't go far. Word gets around. Clients can smell desperation in brand strategists like blood in the water. Meanwhile, I thrived. I sold the house. Bought a loft downtown. Signed a deal with a tech startup that paid double what I used to earn. The freedom was intoxicating. But the best part? She couldn't touch any of it. My lawyer made sure of that. When the divorce papers were delivered to her temporary apartment, courtesy of her cousin's spare bedroom, they included a clause. She waived any future claim on my assets. She signed it. She had no leverage left. 1 week after the settlement was finalized, I got a letter. Not an email. Not a voicemail. A letter. Handwritten. No return address. It read, Nathan, I used to think I was the smartest person in any room. That if I smiled enough, played my cards right, I could always come out ahead. I was wrong. I didn't just betray you, I underestimated you. And I think, somehow, that hurt you more. I don't expect forgiveness. But I want you to know, the night you looked me in the eye and said leverage, I saw who I married for the first time. And I realized I lost the game I didn't even know I was playing. Take care of yourself. See, I read it once, then tossed it in the fireplace. It's been 6 months. People always ask if I'm dating again. If I've healed. If I ever think about her. The answer's simple. No. See, this story was never about heartbreak. It was about betrayal. Chess, not checkers. And most importantly, it's about legacy. Because here's the twist Cassie never saw coming. I took all that pain, all her manipulation, deceit, and scheming, and turned it into something useful. I wrote a book. Not a memoir. Not a tell-all. A guide. Exit strategy. How to leave without losing your soul, or half your net worth. It hit Amazon last week. Already climbing the charts in divorce and self-help. Early reviews are glowing. Apparently, my voice feels like talking to your smarter, sarcastic best friend who just caught your wife lying. One review called it emotionally lethal. I like that one. But the best part? The dedication. To the woman who taught me the difference between love and leverage. You inspired every page. My publisher asked if that was too much. I said no. Because revenge isn't always loud. Sometimes it's just the quiet sound of your ex's friend group reading your name on the cover of a bestseller. And slowly putting the pieces together.